Today we have a thrilling list of 10 serial killer movies that I have in my collection. On top of the 10, we also have a few honorable mentions, so stay till the end to check those out. But today we're not diving into real life serial killers like Ted Bundy or Eileen Wuornos, and we're steering clear of slasher movies. We're not talking about Michael Myers today or Scream. All those movies are great, and I do love those, but these are just fictional serial killer movies. With all the buzz surrounding the movie Trap, I have wanted to revisit all of my favorites, and then I wanted to share that list with you. Number one here is just an all-time classic. It comes up on a lot of people's lists. It's been around since the mid-90s. It has been memed, I think, to death. Like, there's an actual scene in here that's pretty epic, but if you've never seen the movie, you probably know what's going on because it's just all over the internet.
What's in the box?
And we're talking about 1995's Seven. This is a David Fincher film. It stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. For me, when I first saw this, I was a teenager back in the 90s, and it's just absolutely amazing. It blew me away, and I've pretty much had this in my collection ever since. Just an all-around phenomenal film. If you've not seen this one, revolves around Morgan Freeman, who's about to retire, and Brad Pitt, who's kind of a fresh cop, and these detectives have to try to figure out this seven deadly sins serial killer and stop him before he completes his sick and twisted masterpiece. Highly recommend this one. Excellent film. Here is something that also came out in the 90s. It actually made it in just as the decade was about to be over in 1999. So number two, we're talking about In Dreams. This is an amazing movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Annette Bening. If you've not seen this one, it's just intriguing in so many ways. So you have a serial killer played by Robert Downey Jr., and not to give away any spoilers, they definitely show you that in the trailer. So Annette Bening's character actually kind of connects to him through her dreams, and so then she tries to figure out this serial killer and his next actions. You also see a little bit of like how and why he did what he did, and it's definitely something. It's not really an artsy film, but it kind of goes into that little bit of a gray area. Interesting all around. Absolutely love this film. It's one of my all-time favorites, and it's one that I think is just completely underrated and missed a lot of people. And with Robert Downey Jr. acting since he was a kid and being the super mega star he is now, this is one that just kind of got forgotten about. Really enjoy this one. Highly recommend it. Number three is Death Proof. This is the 2007 movie starring Kurt Russell. You have just a great cast of women in this one. You have Rosario Dawson, Zoe Bell, you have Vanessa Ferlito, and it's something I just like to go to on a nice Saturday afternoon. Pop this one in. But if you've not seen it, Kurt Russell plays a stuntman, but also he uses his car to murder his victims. And so he gets unsuspecting women in the car, and because it's designed to be death proof for him because he's a stuntman, he uses the car to annihilate his victims. I absolutely love going back to this one. Here is another one that's just highly recommended, and that's a little bit facetious for me to say because if it's on this list, I absolutely love it, and I think everyone should watch these movies. Number four is 1995's Copycat. This one here stars Sigourney Weaver, Holly Hunter. You have Harry Connick Jr. in this one. Just an all-around classic film, and if you've not seen this one, Sigourney Weaver's character, she is a serial killer expert. With being an expert on serial killers, it draws the attention of serial killers, and so then somebody starts stalking her. The whole opening scene, she's attacked, which then creates her to have this agoraphobia, which is she won't leave her apartment. She's too afraid. But somebody starts copycatting real serial killers, and they turn to her to try to figure it out. And then with that, it draws her out of her comfort zone, leaving her vulnerable, and the whole thing kind of starts over again. There's a little bit of a twist. Just really enjoy this film, and it's something I revisit every couple of years. Number five is something that I do enjoy. I think it's a great Saturday afternoon flick, but it has a little bit of a 90s vibe because it came out in the early 2000s, so it just kind of has this like weird vibe. It does have a pretty low IMDb score. We're talking about 2000s The Watcher with Keanu Reeves, Marissa Tomei, James Spader. And this one here, you have Keanu Reeves, who normally plays the good guy or the laid back, whatever kind of dude. And this one, he is the serial killer. And in this, he's taunting James Spader's character while kind of hunting his victims and calling the FBI agent. And he thinks he's smarter than him. And almost always he's a couple steps ahead. And so it kind of just haunts James Spader's character. It's just something that I know not everybody loves, but for me, you have Marissa Tomei, and that's why I got the film in the first place. It's just a great Saturday afternoon flick.
Perfect.
Number 6 is something that it actually says it's based on a true story. But in 2017, the director said that the entire thing was made up. And even though it might have some similarities to some real events, the entire movie is just a dark comedy and it's all fake. And we're talking about Serial Mom. John Waters directed this in 1994. This one stars Kathleen Turner. Matthew Lillard is in this one. I absolutely love Matthew Lillard. I'll watch anything he's in. We also have Ricki Lake. She's in this one. It really does fill those shoes of a dark comedy. Really enjoy it. Being a hard R, it doesn't have a lot of the gore and the violence that you might be used to. It has the language and it is awesome. If you haven't seen it, she plays the mom. She snaps. She has crappy neighbors. She doesn't get along with them and she just starts killing people. And it's just overall really fun. Absolutely enjoy this one. Now, the next one here is something that I like to revisit every couple of years. It does take more of that serious mode and it takes some of the actors that are usually involved in comedies or lighthearted movies or even the hero role. Even the serial killer in here is usually played by somebody who does those hero type roles and is usually the good guy or the moral grounding. So this one here, it might fall flat with more audiences because they just can't see this type of hero in this role. So number 7 is Mr. Brooks, and this one here stars Kevin Costner, who plays a serial killer. And in this movie, it's believable. He's very methodic and, very cunning. His entire family, nobody knows. But then Dane Cook's character kind of witnesses it, but then also tries to blackmail Kevin Costner. This one here is something that it makes you think because it's done differently. Kevin Costner's character has a little bit more self-control, a little bit more reserved than your typical uncontrollable serial killer who just has to do this. He definitely plans it out and then pretty much commits the perfect crime, and it leaves the police baffled for many years. Just an enjoyable film, and again, it's something I like to revisit every couple of years. Number 8 is The Cell. This one stars Jennifer Lopez, Vincent D'Onofrio, Vince Vaughn. Just an overall excellent film. It has the whole serial killer aspect of it, but then it has the whole sci-fi aspect of it, which adds a ton to the visuals. And this is a movie here that would really do greatly on 4K because the visuals are just absolutely amazing. Now, this one, if you haven't seen it, Jennifer Lopez is somebody that works with this technology to go into people's minds to try to help them. And so in the beginning, she's trying to help this boy who's like in a coma or catatonic. I don't remember exactly what it was, but she's trying to help him through therapy. Along the way, there's this serial killer that's taking out these girls. As the police are closing in on him, they get him, but he has like a seizure and goes into a coma. And the only way to find the girl and Jennifer Lopez's character has to go into his mind. I know that's not for everybody. If you're into artsy movies with some pretty heavy subject matter, I highly recommend this one. Number 9 is Summer 84, and if you've not seen this one, I think it's just an excellent movie, and a lot of these movies that are trying to give you that nostalgia feeling or go back into the 80s, not every single one of them does it right. A lot of them just overload you with the member berries and the pop culture and everything that you could imagine from the 80s to just go, oh yeah, I remember that. But this one here, it's very subtle with that stuff, and being a kid that grew up in the 80s and the early 90s, there's a scene in here where the kids are playing like hide and seek in the dark and they're running through other neighbors' yards and all the neighbors kind of just accept it. I remember being able to do that when I was a kid. I think they did everything right when they were really kind of bringing things back from the 80s. Now, this one here for the serial killer aspect of it, it has a twist. And, I hate to use that term Hitchcockian. I kind of think it fits with this one. It has a twist that's good enough where I think it works and it's just really enjoyable. Now, you learn that early on. It does have that Rear Window vibe where this kid is kind of spying on a neighbor and blaming him for murder. And the whole time, everyone thinks he's a little bit crazy, even his friends. It's rated R. It's not too heavy on the gore. Really enjoy this one. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. So number 10 is California. This one stars Brad Pitt, David Duchovny, Juliette Lewis, Michelle Forbes. And this one here is just something that Brad Pitt, he's the killer. And at the time when I saw this, it just kind of was, he's the killer, right? And so you have that, and everyone's talking about all these other films. So when I first saw this when I was a kid, I don't remember if I saw it when it first came out or after some of those other movies, but Brad Pitt was everywhere. And again, he has that hero role or the good guy role, or even like that tortured character, somebody you really side with. But in this, he's the serial killer. So you want to like him, but you don't. So I don't know if that's what was off-putting to me back then, but as I've been watching this over the years, it is something I really do enjoy. And if you've not seen this one, so Brad Pitt, obviously he's the serial killer, but Juliette Lewis, I don't know if there's something wrong with her, but she definitely plays a simple person, not very intelligent, and maybe she's a little slow. And they're together and Brad Pitt's very controlling. You see that early on in the movie. If you've not seen this one, David Duchovny is trying to get to California to actual serial killer locations and write about it, and because he's trying to write a novel. He's going to take up a ride-sharing offer with Brad Pitt's character, who is a serial killer. They're going to split the gas to get to California. What are the odds that David Duchovny's character, who's trying to write a book on serial killers, gets stuck with Brad Pitt, who is a serial killer? Now they take this journey to California, and along the way they're going to be taking photographs of serial killer locations and writing it for this novel. Along the way, he finds out that Brad Pitt is a killer, and it's just something that I really did enjoy, and so I highly recommend this one. Before I get on to the honorable mentions, if you've got any kind of value out of this, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. So the very first one here is a dark comedy from the 90s, and you have So I Married an Axe Murderer with Mike Myers and Nancy Travis. This is just an overall fun film. The reason this is an honorable mention is you don't really see any serial killing going on in the movie, but Mike Myers thinks his wife is a serial killer because there is a serial killer in the movie, and it's just a really enjoyable film. If you haven't seen it, another one I highly recommend. And number two, it's an honorable mention for the same reason. Now, there is a serial killer in this film. You actually meet that person, but you don't see any of those murders up front. You don't have that consistency of murdering. Even though I think the film is great, I never think about it when I think of serial killers. And we're talking about Freeway with Reese Witherspoon. Kiefer Sutherland is in this movie. You just have an overall great cast, and Vinegar Syndrome put this out on 4K, and I think they did an excellent job. But this is something that it flopped at the box office when it came out in the 90s. I always thought it was just like a TV movie or one of those like cable station movies, because that's where I found it, and everyone I knew that had seen the movie, that's where they saw it. But apparently this only made like $15,000 opening weekend on like a couple $1 million budget. So it flopped at the box office, making like a total worldwide box office take at the time just under 300,000. But this definitely found its footing on the home video market, something I really recommend. It's just a fun twist on the Red Riding Hood story. I know there's a few I left off on here, but I don't have every single one of them, even though I've seen many more. But if I left off your favorites, let me know what it was down in the comments below. For other top 10 lists, check out this video right here. And with that, watch a movie today, and I'll catch you guys next time.